I see people making the same mistake every summer, and most of them never realize why their sweet peppers stay small, thin, and disappointing.
They spend money on expensive fertilizers, water the plants every few days, and still wonder why someone else harvests baskets full of large, colorful peppers from a garden that looks much simpler. I used to believe that buying more products would solve the problem too, until an old gardener quietly showed me something that cost almost nothing and completely changed the way I grow peppers. If you throw banana peels into the trash without thinking, you may be throwing away one of the easiest helpers your pepper plants could ever have. I am not talking about miracles, because there are no miracles in gardening. I am talking about a simple habit that fits naturally into the way peppers grow and develop when they receive steady care instead of expensive promises. Over the years, I have learned that peppers reward patience more than money. They do not ask for complicated formulas or shelves full of bottles. They simply respond when we understand what they truly need at the right moment. Most gardeners make one small mistake before they even prepare a banana peel infusion, and because of that, they never see the result they expected. They either make it too strong, use it at the wrong time, or expect it to replace everything else the plant needs. That is exactly why so many people eventually say these old methods do not work. The truth is, they often skip one important detail that experienced gardeners never ignore. I will show you exactly how I prepare this simple banana peel infusion, when I use it, how often I apply it, and just as importantly, when I never use it. I will also explain the common mistake that can slow your peppers instead of helping them, because very few people talk about that part. Years ago, an older neighbor watched me feeding my peppers with expensive products and smiled without saying much. A few days later, he handed me a small bucket with something soaking inside and told me to wait before judging it. I honestly did not expect much, but by the end of that season, I noticed a difference that made me keep this habit ever since. What surprised me most was not the infusion itself, but the simple step he told me to do before the bucket was ever filled with water. And that is where almost everyone gets it wrong, Tiho. See.
When I asked my neighbor why he bothered saving banana peels instead of buying another bottle from the garden store, he simply laughed and said that most people were feeding the soil without first thinking about the plant.
At first, I did not understand what he meant, because I believed more fertilizer always meant more peppers. After many seasons, I realized he was right. Sweet peppers do not need to be pushed every week with stronger and stronger products. They need steady support that matches the stage they are in. This is where most gardeners lose part of their harvest without even noticing it. They see flowers forming and immediately start pouring different fertilizers around the roots, hoping for bigger fruits. Sometimes the plant responds with lots of leaves instead of peppers, and sometimes it simply becomes stressed because everything arrives too quickly. A banana peel infusion is different when it is prepared correctly because it is gentle. It does not force the plant. It simply supports it during one of the most important moments of the growing season. Very few people use it with patience, and that is exactly why so many give up after trying it only once. I always begin with clean banana peels that have not started to rot. I cut them into smaller pieces because that helps them release their nutrients into the water more evenly. I never fill the bucket completely with peels because that is another mistake I often see. Too many peels can create a mixture that smells unpleasant and becomes less enjoyable to use. Instead, I place a small handful into a bucket and cover them with clean water. Then I leave the bucket in a shaded place for several days. I do not rush the process because time does part of the work for me. Every day I stir the mixture gently with a stick and simply let nature continue. There is nothing difficult about it, and that is probably why many people overlook it. We often believe that complicated methods must be better than simple ones. My experience has taught me the opposite. Some of the best results in the garden come from slow habits repeated every season. The real surprise comes after the infusion is ready because the way you apply it matters even more than the way you prepare it. One small mistake at that stage can reduce the benefit without you even realizing it. And that is exactly what I want to explain next before you carry a single watering can into your garden.
The first time I used the banana peel infusion, I almost made the same mistake that I see many gardeners making today.
I was ready to pour a large amount around every pepper plant because I thought more had to be better. The older man who showed me the method stopped me before I even lifted the watering can. He told me that peppers like consistency much more than excess, and that one careful feeding at the right time is worth far more than several heavy applications. I have never forgotten those words because they have proven true season after season. When my infusion is ready, I always dilute it before using it. I never pour the strong liquid directly onto the roots because I want to give the plants gentle support rather than overwhelm them. Then I water only the soil around the base of each pepper plant. I avoid pouring it over the leaves because that is unnecessary. Before using the infusion, I always check the soil with my fingers. If the ground is completely dry, I first give the plants a little clean water and only afterward apply the diluted infusion. This simple step is ignored by many people, and it can make a surprising difference. A thirsty plant cannot make good use of anything you give it. Once the soil has a little moisture, the roots are ready to receive steady nourishment much more comfortably. I usually begin using the infusion after the plants are well established and the first flowers begin to appear. That is when I want the peppers to stay healthy while preparing for fruit production. I do not use it every few days because there is no need. About once every couple of weeks has always worked well in my garden, together with normal watering and healthy soil. The peppers continue growing without being pushed too hard, and the plants stay balanced throughout the season. Many people expect to see dramatic changes overnight and become disappointed when nothing happens after one application. Gardening rarely works that way. Real results appear slowly as each week builds on the one before it. One afternoon, my neighbor walked through my garden, looked at the growing peppers, and quietly nodded without saying much. A few weeks later, the fruits became larger, the plants stayed productive, and I realized the real secret had never been the banana peels alone. It was combining one simple old habit with good timing and steady care. There was still one important detail he had not explained to me yet, and once I learned it, my peppers became even more reliable from one season to the next.
After a few seasons, I noticed something that completely changed the way I cared for my peppers.
The gardeners who achieved the most reliable harvests were not the ones constantly adding something new. They were the ones who paid close attention to small details that almost everyone else ignored. One of those details is the moment you choose to feed the plants. I never use the banana peel infusion on a strict calendar because the weather changes every year and the plants tell me much more than a date on the wall ever could. I watch the leaves, the flowers, and the small fruits that begin to form. If the plants look healthy and continue producing new blossoms, I know they are ready for another gentle feeding. If they are under stress from extreme heat or have just gone through several days without enough water, I wait until they recover. That little bit of patience has saved me from many disappointments. Another habit I never skip is loosening the top layer of soil before watering. I do it carefully with my fingers or a small hand tool without disturbing the roots. This helps water soak in more evenly instead of running across the surface. It takes only a minute, costs nothing, and very few people bother to do it anymore. Years ago, an experienced gardener told me that healthy roots enjoy both moisture and air, and that simple advice has stayed with me ever since. I also keep a thin layer of natural mulch around my pepper plants. Dry grass, chopped leaves, or clean straw all work well in my garden. The mulch helps the soil stay evenly moist, especially during hot summer days, so the roots experience fewer sudden changes. When I combine this simple habit with the banana peel infusion, the plants seem much steadier throughout the growing season. I do not claim that every pepper becomes huge because weather always has the final word, but I consistently harvest strong, healthy fruits without spending much money. Many gardeners keep searching for a secret ingredient while overlooking these ordinary habits that quietly make the biggest difference. The banana peel infusion works best when it becomes part of a simple routine, instead of being treated like a miracle cure. There is one more mistake that I almost made myself, and I still see it every season. Some people continue feeding their peppers the same way until the very end of the season without noticing that the plants have entered a different stage of growth. Understanding when to slow down is just as important as knowing when to begin, and that final lesson tied everything together for me in a way I never expected.
One lesson took me much longer to learn than I care to admit.
I believed that if a little banana peel infusion helped my peppers, then using more of it more often would give me an even bigger harvest. That idea sounded reasonable at the time, but my plants quickly reminded me that gardening does not work that way. Instead of becoming stronger, they slowed down for a while because I was giving them attention when what they really needed was balance. Since then, I have followed one simple rule. I never try to force a pepper plant to grow faster than it wants to grow. I let it move at its own pace, and I simply give it steady support. Another mistake I see every year is using the infusion on weak or unhealthy plants while ignoring the real problem. If a pepper plant is suffering because it has been overwatered, damaged by pests, or planted in heavy soil that stays wet for too long, no homemade infusion will solve those issues by itself. I always look for the cause first. I check the leaves for damage, I make sure excess water is draining away, and I remove any unhealthy leaves that no longer help the plant. Only after the plant is in better condition do I continue with my normal feeding routine. That simple habit has saved many peppers in my garden. I also avoid applying the infusion before heavy rain whenever possible. A strong rain can wash much of it deeper into the soil before the roots have a chance to benefit from it. If I know rain is coming, I simply wait another day or two. There is no reason to hurry because peppers reward patience far more often than speed. One thing I enjoy every season is watching the first peppers begin to gain size while fresh flowers continue appearing above them. That tells me the plant feels comfortable and wants to keep producing. Many people think the secret is hidden inside one special ingredient, but after many years, I have come to believe the real secret is learning how several small habits work together. Healthy soil, careful watering, steady feeding, clean garden beds, and a little patience create results that expensive products alone cannot promise. My old neighbor used to smile whenever someone asked him for the single best fertilizer. He would quietly say that the best gardeners rarely depend on only one thing. They build simple routines that support the plant from the first flower until the final harvest. There was one last habit he taught me near the end of the season that helped my peppers continue producing longer than I thought possible, and that final step brought everything together.
As summer slowly begins to change and the days become a little shorter, I start paying even closer attention to my pepper plants.
This is the time when many gardeners stop caring for them because they think the biggest harvest is already behind them. I have learned to do the opposite. If the plants are still healthy and continue producing flowers and young peppers, I keep supporting them with the same calm routine, instead of giving up too early. I continue watering deeply whenever the soil begins to dry, but I avoid keeping the ground constantly wet because peppers dislike sitting in soggy soil for long periods. I also remove any damaged fruits or yellow leaves that no longer help the plant. It is a small job that takes only a few minutes, but it allows the plant to focus its energy on healthy growth instead of trying to maintain parts that are already finished. I still use the diluted banana peel infusion from time to time during this stage, but only while the plants remain actively producing flowers and fruit. Once I see the season coming to an end and the plants naturally slowing down, I stop feeding them and simply let them finish their work. Many people continue adding more and more fertilizer at this point, hoping for one final burst of production, but I have never found that helpful. Sometimes the best thing we can do is stop interfering and allow nature to complete its cycle. One habit that has served me well is harvesting peppers regularly instead of leaving every fruit on the plant until it reaches full maturity. When I pick mature peppers on time, The plant often continues producing new flowers instead of believing its job is finished. It is such a simple habit, yet very few people talk about how much difference it can make over an entire season. Looking back after all these years, I honestly smile when I remember how much money I once spent chasing perfect harvests. Today, my routine is much simpler. I save banana peels that would have been thrown away, prepare a gentle infusion, water with care, keep the soil healthy, and stay patient. None of these habits are difficult on their own, but together they have given me stronger pepper plants and harvests that satisfy me year after year. There is one final lesson I always like to share because it has very little to do with banana peels and everything to do with becoming a better gardener. And once you understand it, you may never look at your garden the same way again.
When I look back at all the years I have spent growing peppers, I realize the biggest change did not happen in my garden.
It happened in the way I thought about gardening itself. I stopped looking for quick answers and started trusting simple habits that could be repeated every season without spending extra money. The banana peel infusion became one small part of that routine, not because it was magical, but because it reminded me that useful things are often already around us if we pay attention. Every time I save a few banana peels instead of throwing them away, I know I am turning kitchen waste into something helpful for the garden. That simple feeling of using what I already have is just as satisfying as harvesting the peppers themselves. If you decide to try this method, I encourage you to be patient with it. Do not expect watering to transform your plants overnight because that is not how healthy gardens grow. Watch your peppers every week. Notice the color of the leaves, the strength of the stems, the appearance of new flowers, and the steady growth of the fruits. Those small changes tell a much more honest story than any advertisement ever could. Even if your harvest improves only a little during the first season, you are already learning something valuable that you can build on next year. That is how experience grows. Season after season one, simple lesson becomes another, until gardening feels less like guessing and more like understanding. I still remember the quiet smile on my old neighbor's face when he handed me that bucket many years ago. He never claimed it was a secret that nobody else knew. He simply believed that old practical habits should not disappear because they still have value today. I feel exactly the same way now. If sharing this experience helps even one gardener grow healthier peppers while saving a little money, then it has been worth telling. I hope that the next time you peel a banana, you will look at it differently and remember that sometimes the simplest things are the ones we overlook the most. Thank you for spending your time with me today. I truly hope your pepper plants reward you with a harvest that makes you smile every time you walk into your garden. And if you enjoy simple forgotten gardening methods like this one, stay with me, because next time I want to show you another old habit that many gardeners stopped using, even though it can make an even bigger difference than this one.